What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Hellboy, directed by Guillermo del Toro. Now, I'm going to do my best to keep this review as brief as I possibly can. Just tell you my overall basic thoughts. Overall, I think Hellboy is a very solid, good, supernatural superhero movie. I really don't think it's anything all that interesting, to be honest with you. I think this movie is just it's good, but it's not really anything that's going to really reach out to you and hook you. Mainly because I think that the overall A plot of this movie is really nothing all that spectacular. Pretty much, the character of Rasputin needs Hellboy to unleash these seven monsters and destroy the world type of deal. That's what the plot is. There's really nothing all that spectacular to it, but it's not the A plot that makes this movie actually good. It's what's inside the movie itself and inside the A plot that where I think the movie's at its strongest. And a lot of that are the character relationships and just these little small stories that help make Hellboy, who is a monster, feel human and feel relatable in a way. Now, right off the bat, I think the first few minutes, I think the opening prologue of this movie is actually pretty cool. You know, seeing the prologue takes place during World War II, and we see young Professor Broom pretty much find Hellboy after Broom and the army pretty much stopped Rasputin from opening up this portal. But from that portal, Hellboy came out as a baby, and pretty much since then, Broom raised Hellboy as his child, and I like that stuff. And we flash forward to present day. Professor Broom is now played by John Hurt, and Hellboy is now played beautifully, expertly, and awesomely by Ron Perlman. Beautifully because the practical effect makeup look of Hellboy is fantastic and awesome because Ron Perlman is a badass and he gives Hellboy that badass, snarky, cocky, self-confident attitude, and it really helps. And and Perlman pretty much plays Hellboy with someone with some teenage angst to him. The movie tells us that, yes, the events Hellboy came to a portal 60 years ago, but he does not age like a human. So while Hellboy technically could be known as 60 years old, since his aging is more related closely to dog years, he's more or less in his late teens, early 20s. And Ron Perlman plays that teenage angst, that cocky attitude of Hellboy really, really cool and really, really well without making Hellboy just seem annoying. Hellboy he's self-confident, he's arrogant, he's cocky because he knows he's good at what he does. And Ron Perlman does a great job at bringing that to life. I like the relationship that he and Professor Broom have, though I think this movie could have benefited from much more scenes with those two developing their relationship, especially near the end of the movie where Broom's character gets killed. And I think Broom's death as a whole, while yes, necessary for this movie, I think Del Toro kind of rushed it a little bit. Broom dies, Hellboy mopes, and then we go right into the climax and hunting down a Rasputin. I don't think we had enough time to let that breathe a little bit, which is disappointing because I would like to have seen how the death really affected Hellboy. By giving him a few scenes and having him have some conversations with Abe Sapien, who was physically played by Doug Jones and voiced by David High Price. And Abe Sapien's another character in this movie that I really, really like. And I think this movie should have had Abe Sapien more prevalent in the climax, because once Abe gets taken out of the movie, it kind of sucks because I like the character of Abe Sapien. I like the look of Abe Sapien. It's got a good, Abe has a classic 1930s, 1940s Universal monster movie feel to him, more closely related to the creature from the Black Lagoon. And I think Doug Jones as a whole was giving a good physical performance, and I think David High Price, to his credit, gave a good vocal performance too, really making Avian have that intellectual sound to him. And I liked it a lot. And I like the fact that Abe and Hellboy are pretty much, very close friends. I like Hellboy's interactions with Abe Sapien. It's good stuff. Hellboy's interaction with Broom is great. I think the love interest of Liz and Hellboy is actually really well done as well. And I like how Del Toro tried to do a love triangle, but it wasn't a cheesy love triangle. We had this character of Agent Myers, who Professor Broom picked to pretty much be Hellboy's handler since Broom is dying of cancer. So pretty much Agent Myers and Hellboy throughout this movie kind of have a Hellboy's Agent Myers is trying to acclimate himself to Hellboy, but Hellboy is kind of resisting him a little bit. And when the character of Liz comes in, it kind of creates this triangle, but it's actually a very interesting triangle because it's played at it's because that's where I think a lot of the movie's lightheartedness and a lot of the movie's comedy comes from the love triangle, but it's not cringy comedy. It's actually it's pretty funny. It's pretty much how a teenager would react when the woman he loves is with another man who's trying to make the moves on him. That's how that love triangle plays out. So I think it's actually very entertaining, and it gives Hellboy some more dimension and makes him feel more human in a way, which I can appreciate, and I like that a lot. Uh, Even though I think the character of Rasputin, his storyline is overall just plain generic plot, the actor who plays Rasputin gives him a lot of menace, and he really captures that mystical side, that pseudo mystical side that the real life, Rasputin had about himself, that presence. And I like, and I enjoyed the performance immensely. Though I think his villain sidekick, the character of Cronin, who was basically like this Nazi ninja, I think he's a much cooler character, and I like the fight scenes that he has. And it's actually the character of Cronin who kills Professor Broom by with these twin blades, like a Wolverine, pretty much stabs him. So that stuff is real good too. The action sequences in this movie are well directed for the most part. They look cool. They look visually stylish, and I like it a lot. The monsters have a good, unique creativeness to them, especially the monster of Samael, which is the first monster we see Hellboy battle, which is a very entertaining fight scene, like in this museum. That was fun stuff as well. And the climax where Hellboy fights this ginormous squid-looking motherfucker that comes out of Rasputin, because this squid-looking thing was keeping Rasputin alive for decades. That's an entertaining fight as well. And like I said, a lot of the character stuff is where this movie is at its most strongest, especially Hellboy having this antagonistic relationship with the character of Tom Manning, played by Jeffrey Tambor. Tom Manning's whole deal is that he has to convince the audience that Hellboy is not real, that it's all a myth. While all the while, he kind of does not like Hellboy, and the two of them have like an antagonistic relationship all throughout the movie. But near the end of the movie, Hellboy saves Manning, and they start to develop a mutual respect for one another, which I really, really like a lot. So, like I said, while the overall A plot for this movie is nothing spectacular, it's the little things that really make this movie that really are the strongest points of this movie. Del Toro's direction is outstanding. This movie is visually, it looks beautiful. The practical effects are all on point. Some of the CGI can be a little janky in a lot of areas. I understand this movie was made in 2004, but even by 2004 standards, these CGI effects are a little. In some parts, they can be really, really good. In other parts, they really look really janky and look kind of bad. But since Del Toro is a good visual artist and is a good visual storyteller, you can look past that because you have a lot of other good things to latch onto. So yeah, there's a lot more to talk about with Hellboy, but those are just my broad general strokes about the movie. Overall, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. It's a very enjoyable movie. I like it. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.